Welcome to Military Matrix, where power, technology, and ambition converge in the form of the most expensive war machines ever built by mankind. They fly, sail, and stand as symbols of both fear and hope, crafted not only to dominate battlefields, but also to shape the political destiny of nations. Each of these creations, the F-35, Lightning II, the B2-SPIRIT, the USS GERALD R, Ford, and the Patriot missile defense system represents the pinnacle of human engineering and the staggering cost of our desire to control the future of warfare. They are not just machines, they are philosophies forged in titanium and carbon fiber, in nuclear steel and advanced radar arrays. To understand them is to understand what modern power looks like in the 21st century. Behind their stealth coatings and missile bays lies a story of ambition and anxiety, of innovation born from fear, and of economies built on the promise of deterrence. The 21st century is often described as the age of information, but in truth, it is also the age of defense. Never before have nations spent so much to prepare for wars they hope never to fight. The global arms industry moves more than $2 trillion every year, and at its summit stand, these mechanical giants, each one a monument to a country's ability to dream, build, and defend. Yet the question remains, how much is too much to pay for security? The F-35 Lightning II program began with the purest of military ideals, a single aircraft that could serve the air forces, navies, and marines of the United States and its allies alike. It was conceived in the late 1992 as a joint strike fighter, meant to replace a patchwork of aging jets across multiple services. On paper, it would do everything: dogfight like an F-16, bomb like an F-15E, hover like a Harrier, and evade radar like a stealth ghost. In practice, it became the most expensive weapons program in history. By the time the first F-35 rolled off the production line, the project had already ballooned beyond all forecasts. Software delays, cost overruns, and inter-service disagreements turned the dream into a bureaucratic labyrinth. The final tally, over $1.7 trillion in lifetime costs, dwarfs the GDP of many nations. Critics called it a boondoggle. Supporters called it indispensable. The truth lies somewhere in between. Technologically, the F-35 is unmatched. Its stealth profile renders it nearly invisible to radar. Its helmet-mounted display lets pilots see through the plane's own skin via a network of cameras. Its fusion of sensors allows it to act as an airborne data hub, linking land, sea, and air forces in real time. In modern warfare, where information is as lethal as ordnance, that connectivity is priceless. Pilots no longer fight alone, they fight as part of a living, breathing digital organism. And yet the aircraft's development was marred by growing pains. Early software bugs caused systems to freeze mid-flight. The logistics software meant to streamline maintenance became infamous for its complexity. Some argued that in trying to create one aircraft for all missions, the Pentagon had instead built a compromise for every mission. But as the years passed and the technology matured, the F-35 began to prove its worth. In simulated combat, it outperformed fourth-generation fighters by double-digit kill ratios. In real deployments from the Pacific to Eastern Europe, it has become the backbone of Allied air power. The cost, however, extends far beyond its price tag. Each F-35 represents a web of global dependency. Components are sourced from across the NATO world: wings from Italy, engines from the US, electronic systems from the UK. It is less a fighter jet than a geopolitical ecosystem, binding allies together through shared technology. In that sense, the F-35 is as much a diplomatic tool as it is a weapon. Its very existence ensures that partners remain invested literally and strategically in the American defense network. If the F-35 embodies the complexity of modern collaboration, the B2-SPIRIT represents the pinnacle of Cold War fear distilled into pure stealth. First flown in 1989, the B-2 was designed to do one thing perfectly: penetrate the most heavily defended airspace in the world and deliver nuclear or conventional payloads without ever being seen. Its sleek alien shape, a flying wing of dark composite, was the product of decades of research in radar absorption and aerodynamics. When it was unveiled, it looked less like a bomber and more like something that had slipped through a crack in time. Only 21 B-2 seconds were ever built, each costing more than $2 billion when adjusted for inflation. The program's secrecy was legendary. Entire budgets were hidden under code names to prevent Congress and the public from realizing its true scale. But the result was a weapon unlike any other. A bomber that could fly 6,000 miles without refueling, release precision-guided munitions with uncanny accuracy, and then disappear into the clouds like a shadow. The B-2's combat debut came over Kosovo in 1999, where it destroyed Serbian command centers in the opening hours of the war. Later, it flew from Missouri to Afghanistan and Iraq, striking high-value targets with surgical precision. In each mission, its presence was less about destruction and more about inevitability. Enemies knew that if the B-2 was in the air, nowhere was truly safe. That psychological power became its greatest weapon. But even the Spirit has its ghosts. Maintenance is notoriously demanding. The aircraft's radar-absorbent coating must be meticulously maintained, requiring climate-controlled hangars and thousands of labor hours. The cost of keeping the fleet airborne has led some to call it a flying museum piece, yet its influence on future designs, most notably the forthcoming B-21 Raider, is immeasurable. The B-2 showed the world that invisibility was possible, and in doing so, it changed the calculus of global deterrence. Where the F-35 rules the skies and the B-2 strikes from the shadows, the USS Gerald R. Ford reigns upon the seas, a colossal manifestation of naval dominance and industrial ambition. Commissioned in 2017, it is the most expensive warship ever built, costing over $13 billion before even accounting for its air wing. At over 1,100 feet long and weighing 100,000 tons, the Ford is more than a carrier. It is a floating city, home to 4,500 sailors and over 70 aircraft. Every part of the ship embodies innovation. Its nuclear reactors generate enough power to sustain a small city. Its electromagnetic aircraft launch system replaces the old steam catapults with magnetic precision, reducing stress on planes and increasing sortie rates. Advanced arresting gear allows for smoother landings. Automation reduces crew requirements, while its island superstructure is shifted aft to provide more deck space for operations. It is, in every sense, the blueprint for the next century of American sea power. But such ambition comes with challenges. Early trials were plagued by technical glitches, malfunctions in the launch system, power distribution problems, software integration delays. The cost of fixing them spiraled into billions more. Critics asked whether the era of the supercarrier was ending, as hypersonic missiles and drone warfare threatened to render such ships vulnerable. Admirals countered that flexibility and power projection remain unmatched. A single carrier strike group can influence an entire region's politics simply by arriving offshore. The Gerald R. Ford, they argued, is not just a ship, it is a message. Sailing the world's oceans, the Ford symbolizes deterrence through presence. Wherever it goes, it carries the weight of American diplomacy, humanitarian aid, and potential warfare. Its air wing can enforce no-fly zones, deliver disaster relief, or launch strikes deep into enemy territory. It is both sword and shield, a reminder that maritime supremacy remains the foundation of global order. And yet, beyond the grandeur of steel and strategy, the ship raises a quieter question about the future. Can any single platform justify such cost in an age of cyber warfare and unmanned systems? For now, the Ford remains the most visible proof of what happens when human ambition meets industrial might. If the Ford embodies projection, the Patriot missile defense system represents protection. First deployed in the 1,980 seconds, the Patriot was America's answer to the growing threat of ballistic missiles. Its task was simple in theory, but daunting in practice. Detect, track, and destroy incoming missiles traveling at several times the speed of sound. Over decades, it evolved from a Cold War relic into a global shield network, protecting cities and bases from hostile fire. During the Gulf War, the Patriot became a household name. Television viewers watched grainy footage of its interceptors streaking into the night sky over Saudi Arabia, chasing Scud missiles launched by Iraq. Though its effectiveness in that conflict was debated, the system's symbolism was undeniable. It gave civilians hope that the sky itself could be defended. Later iterations, such as the PAC-3, dramatically improved accuracy through hit-to-kill technology and advanced radar tracking. Today, Patriot batteries stand guard across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. From Poland to Japan, they form the backbone of collective defense against evolving threats. Their presence is as much political as practical, a visible commitment of alliance. When a nation hosts a Patriot battery, it signals trust, partnership, and deterrence. In Ukraine, the arrival of Patriot systems during the 2022 marked a turning point, shielding key infrastructure from missile barrages and demonstrating how defensive technology can alter the course of a modern war. Yet, even defense carries a price. A single Patriot battery can cost over $1 billion to deploy and maintain. Each interceptor missile costs several million, fired to destroy threats that might cost a fraction of that to launch. Critics call it asymmetrical economic spending gold to stop tin. But in the calculus of national survival, cost becomes secondary to assurance. Peace, in this logic, is worth any price tag. Taken together, these four machines, aircraft, bomber, carrier, and missile system, form a mosaic of modern warfare. They reveal not only how nations fight, but how they think. The F-35 represents integration and networked warfare. The B-2 embodies stealth and strategic reach. The GERALD R. Ford manifests power projection, and the Patriot symbolizes defense and resilience. Each answers a different fear, each born from a specific historical moment, yet all converge on a single truth. In the modern world, technology is strategy. Behind every bolt and circuit lies human intent. Engineers labor for decades to shave seconds off launch times or decibels off radar signatures. Pilots train their bodies to endure G-forces and isolation. Shipbuilders weld steel plates the size of houses, knowing they are crafting both weapon and wonder. These projects create jobs, industries, and entire communities, binding the fate of economies to the rhythm of defense spending. The military-industrial complex, once a phrase of warning, has become the architecture of modern civilization. But there is also an ethical shadow. Each advancement in military technology invites escalation. Stealth inspires better radar. Missiles inspire countermissiles. Carriers inspire anti-ship weapons. The race never ends, only evolves. Supporters argue that deterrence keeps peace, that overwhelming strength prevents war by making it unwinnable. Detractors warn that dependence on such machines drains resources from health, education, and environment, creating security in one domain while eroding it in others. History offers no easy verdict. The same technologies that defend can also destroy. The F-35 sensors might one day guide humanitarian airlifts as easily as combat missions. The Ford's reactors could power relief efforts after natural disasters. The Patriot's radar might track incoming storms as well as missiles. In that duality lies the paradox of progress. Every tool of war contains within it the potential for peace. As we look toward the future, the next generation of systems, hypersonic missiles, autonomous drones, AI-driven defense networks, will likely eclipse even the staggering budgets of today. But they will also inherit the same questions. How much power is enough, and who controls it? For nations, these machines are the ultimate expression of sovereignty. For humanity, they are mirrors, reflecting both our brilliance and our fears. Perhaps, in the end, that is what makes them truly remarkable. Not the billions spent or the technologies perfected, but what they reveal about us, the lengths to which we will go to feel safe, the ingenuity we summon when threatened, and the contradictions we accept to maintain peace through strength. They are the cathedrals of our modern age, built not of stone and faith, but of alloys and algorithms. So when an F-35 roars into the sky, when a B-2 glides unseen across continents, when the GERALD R Ford's deck hums with electromagnetic energy. Or when a Patriot missile arcs upward against a hostile horizon, they tell the same story in different languages. That humanity's greatest weapon and greatest weakness have always been the same: our imagination. Welcome again to Military Matrix, where machines of war become monuments of civilization, and where every price tag hides a question about the value of peace.